Hey guys, it's James Walsh here from the Wrestling Epicenter. I'd like to thank you for finding us here on YouTube. If you get the opportunity, please click that subscribe button as well as the notifications bell. This way, anytime that we upload any new content or new to you content from our archives dating back to 2002, you'll be notified. You can check out what we're up to. Please also check out www.wrestlingepicenter.com for all your wrestling news and information needs, as well as check out our store to keep us running free and clear. Without any further delay, let's get to why you're here. Thanks for checking out Wrestling Epicenter on YouTube. Hey guys, this is James Walsh joining you here in January 2021. And this time we're going to take a trip back to July of 2007 with Miss Traci Brooks as she did the Impact Wrestling TNA media conference call, now known as the Press Pass Podcast. This was a special one to me, even though it's just a media call, which when there's a lot of them, they tend to mean less, but they were one a month then, so that was pretty cool. This one was special to me because it's the first thing I recorded in my then new home with my wife. So that was kind of cool. Got a few pictures on here that I like. I don't know why, but I just love that shot of lower right-hand corner. Well, I do know why, but that's a great shot. I remember I saw that in 2003, and I immediately became a fan of Traci Brooks, who eventually won me over with her wrestling and her professionalism, and she's joined us a number of times. So hope you guys enjoy. And let's get to the media call with Traci Brooks from 2007.
Thank you. I would like to welcome everybody to the July monthly TNA Wrestling teleconference. Glad to be doing these once again. We took a month or two off. I know a lot of people were asking about them, but as we get ready for Victory Road this Sunday on pay-per-view, of course we have the match of champions, Kurt and Joe teaming against Team 3D. You have the Daredevil Ultimate X match, Christian Cage against Chris Harris, Rhino against James Storm, and then the big tag match with Eric Young and Gail Kim against Robert Roode and our guest today, Miss Traci Brooks. Miss Brooks, Traci, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm getting ready for my big match this weekend, getting ready to beat Gail Kim.
We can open it up for questions at this point, as long as we focus all questions on TNA Wrestling and this pay-per-view or Traci Brooks. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Your first question comes from the line of Brian Ryder.
Hi, Traci. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Thanks for calling in.
No problem. My question to you is, what do you prefer, wrestling or managing?
Yeah, I can't really pick or choose. I mean, when I'm managing, everyone thinks, it's just, I'm out there managing, but I learn so much. I'm watching some of the greatest. I mean, Robert Roode versus Jeff Jarrett, Christopher Daniels, Christian Cage. You learn so much managing, and people don't realize how important a manager's timing is, or when to stay low, or when to shine. It's important not to overshine the person you're managing, but I started as a wrestler, I trained as a wrestler, and I love both. I mean, I grew to love managing a lot and realized that I learned a lot from managing, but I love to get in the ring and mix it up, as you guys can tell.
Also, this Sunday on pay-per-view, like it was just mentioned, just referred to, it's going to be you and Robert Roode against Eric Young and Gail Kim. What can we expect this Sunday on pay-per-view?
That will be victorious. That's what you can expect. It's definitely going to be with the history of both of us, Gail and I getting into it, and Robert Roode and Showtime Circus. It's always going to be. You never know what's going to expect, but it's always going to be a really, really good, entertaining, vicious match.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for calling in.
No problem.
Your next question comes from the line of Brian Thomas.
Hey, Traci. Brian Thomas from thedailysuplex.com. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you. Wanted to get your views on the way yourself and the rest of the women in TNA are being used now compared to what they were, say, a year ago.
Well, definitely, we're all over. It seems like the past couple tapings, we've been all over both programs, and it's been great. Things take time. Good things take time to build, and TNA is definitely using the women right. I mean, we're out there managing, we're out there wrestling. I mean, the girls have had an arm wrestling match. They've had everything from a street fight to a cage match. You know, you just can't throw everything in all at once. A good storyline takes time, and hopefully we've let you guys want it a little longer, and we'll just definitely keep building it. And I think when and hopefully when we go to 2 hours, that you'll definitely see more women and see more women's wrestling like it should be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your next question comes from the line of Wade Needham.
Traci, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Who's been more fun to work with so far in TNA? Matt Bentley, Dusty Rhodes, or Robert Roode, and why?
Oh, come on, that's not fair. Dusty, definitely, because he's a legend. Matt and I had a great history. I think we were the longest couple together for 2 years on TV. But I'm honestly, with being with Robert, it's, you know, he never had a female manager before, so this is new to him too. And I grew up a Robert Roode fan. When I started wrestling back in Border City Wrestling with Scott D'Amore, I was a huge Robert Roode fan. And his intensity, he's an absolute through and through heel. And he's just amazing. And I think we click well together. He scares me in the ring when he yells at me. And that emotion when I cower away from him is real. I just think he gets into his character better than anybody, and he's an amazing wrestler. And I think we have a lot to grow on, a lot to look forward to in the future. So I think definitely Robert's my favorite.
What made you choose TNA over any other promotion?
I just believe in TNA. They've always been good to me. I've been with them since April 2003, and I like seeing the company grow. I like being almost being at the start, and I can see how far we've gone. And my heart's at TNA. I mean, obviously the other companies, you know, wish them all the best and stuff, but I just believe in TNA, and I like the small company. We're very, we know everybody. We know everyone from the ring crew to the janitors to everyone at Universal to everyone when we go on the road. We're just a family, and we all care about each other. And with TNA, we still get to do independent bookings where we get to be in contact with the fans and be in one-on-one with the fans and ask them what they want and how they feel. And I think that's really important.
Right on. Have you ever been on the receiving end of a Steiner recliner from Big Papa Dump?
No, not yet. And hopefully never.
Victory Road, in your match with teaming up with Robert Roode, take on Eric Young and Gail Kim. How are you preparing for that match?
I'm just watching lots of Gail Kim tapes. What people don't know is Gail Kim and I trained together in Toronto 7 years ago, so I have a lot of footage of her and I. So that definitely helps, and just doing lots of cardio for sure, but definitely watching lots of tapes and just mentally being prepared. It's the first time Robert and I have actually tagged together in the ring, so it's going to be good. I'm just going to listen to him and follow his words of advice.
Is this going to be an intergender tag match or a mixed tag match?
It's a mixed tag match.
Yeah. Do you have any information on the upcoming TNA video game?
No, I don't. I'm so sorry.
All right. My last question, when are we going to see a Traci Brooks action figure?
This year sometime. I'm not quite sure what series it's coming out, but I am being brought out, and I'm actually being brought out in pieces. They do this with all the superheroes. I think my left arm and my left leg are going to be in another toy, and then my right arm and my right leg, same thing, and then my lower torso, and then my breast. I'm not quite sure where my head is, but that's what I've heard. I'm not quite sure whose figures I'm going and where or not, but definitely look for it. It'll be out this year. And please buy me and build me.
All righty. Well, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing the match and the entire pay-per-view this Sunday.
Thanks a lot for calling in.
Your next question comes from the line of Scott Slimmer.
Hi, Traci. Scott from 411 Wrestling. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Scott?
Good. Actually, just last night, coincidentally, I was watching footage of the Bound for Glory Fan Fest from last year when you were talking about wanting to see a women's division develop in TNA. And since then, you know, we've seen Christy Hemme go on her crusade to bring about the women's division. We've seen the cage matches. What do you think is the next step for the women in TNA after all the progress you've made over the course of the last year?
I think definitely bringing in more girls, I think, is the next step. definitely a women's division is going to be built, like a legit women's division where they bring in a belt. As I said, I love how slowly they're building this, because I hate when companies just rush something and then it's like, okay, now it's over. Now where do you go? There's only 3 of us right now that are actively wrestling. So, I mean, you can't have a women's match every single night. You're going to get bored of seeing the same 3 girls wrestle, no matter how good it is. And I think definitely the next step will just bring in some more girls and build a strong, solid women's division when we have a lot of time to get in the ring and work. I mean, I think the 3 of us work well together, Jackie, Gail Kim, and myself, and I think we put on a hell of a match last week, and I think this mixed tag match is going to be a great match as well, and it shows that women can be sexy, very, very different in looks, very different in personality, and we can wrestle, and we can work. And I think the difference is of us working than anyone else is that we grew up wrestling fans, and I grew up as to wrestle. I've never had a bikini match. I've never had a bra and panty match. I grew up as a wrestler, and I didn't manage for the first time in my wrestling career until 3 years in my wrestling career. So I think that makes a big difference on our aggressiveness and willing to put on a great match.
Okay, and then sort of a continuation of that. People have been talking about what the next belt for TNA is, whether it's an X Division tag team belt or maybe a women's belt. How do you think you guys are going to know when you're at that stage where a women's championship belt is viable and going to be something that you can pull off successfully?
I think we need more time, too, to develop our characters and develop our moves and develop our signature moves. Our finishers and stuff like that. We just need a little more time, and honestly, I'm not going to lie, I would love a women's belt tomorrow. I would love, Gail and Jackie, myself, all to fight for it. But I think it's going to take a little time. I can maybe see them developing another belt. I'm not quite sure what it would be. I think we need like a mid-heavyweight kind of belt. Not the X Division, but something in between. But then definitely in the near future, a women's belt. I think we need one, but I think we need a little more time, so.
Okay, and then finally, just to follow up one more time, you talked about, obviously having to build the division. Any big names out there in the independent scene that you'd like to be brought in to help fill out that women's division?
Definitely. I would still love to see Nora come to Molly Holly, former Molly Holly, to come to TNA. I would love to see her. I'd love to see Nydia get back in the ring with us. I would love to see ODB, who is an independent worker, who's been working for 7 years, who is a great worker. Lacey from Ring of Honor, she's an amazing, amazing talent. There's like a ton of girls that have worked this weekend that are just, they're training wrestlers. They work hard. They're young. They're talented, and they just need the right. They just need the right shot, the right time.
Okay, thanks a lot for your time, Traci.
Thank you very much for calling in.
Your next question comes from the line of Scott Fishman.
Hey, Traci, how's it going? Scott from the Women Herald.
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good.
You touched on the women's division a few times through this conference call, but I was just curious. Past women's divisions, including other companies, they kind of pushed back women as far as women's wrestling, using it as like filler. So what can TNA do not to have that same thing happen to them?
As I said, we need more time, definitely. We need more, 2 hours would be great. We definitely need more women talent. Not a ton. We don't need 1,000 girls running backstage, but we need a few more solid, good workers and girls that are reputable, that can bring something to the company, and time. That's what we need. We definitely need time.
Mm-hmm. And what about character development with the women stars? The fans are, with you 3 women, are starting to build because you are developing your characters so well.
That's what exactly for time to do that, and that's what I love. When I watched our 3-way match 1,000 times already, but when I watched each individual girl come down, we look so distinctive, not only in obviously race, hair color, everything else, but we look so different in our characters. You could tell Jackie was a ballroom brawler. Gail Kim is a athletic, high-flying, good girl, and I was a bitch. Mm-hmm. And you could tell we're all so distinctive, and I think that's so great, and especially in our characters in the ring, we definitely show that. And I think wrestling lacks that. Women's wrestling lacks that. Definitely. A lot of times girls come out and they're wearing the same thing, or they're not wearing a lot of the same thing.
Right.
And they all kind of blend into one another, and it's just great to see all 3 of us come out and we look totally different. You're running around the rings, you know who's who and who's what, and their characters and their attitude and stuff like that. And I think, just, as I said, time. We see time and a women's division.
Mm-hmm. as far as TNA and the perception of women go in this company, how do you think it compares to other organizations out there?
So can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, as far as TNA goes, as how women are looked at in the company, the business, how do you think it compares to other companies, other wrestling companies?
I think we're definitely respected as women wrestlers, especially lately, especially from Gail and Jackie's cage match too. We go out there and work our butts off just as much as the guys do, and they know how bad we want it. I mean, the office knows how bad we whine about it too. So I think we're looked at. I think we're looked at as women wrestlers. I mean, people before just saw me as a manager, and they still think I'm just a manager that's just thrown in the mix. And you can't really worry about what people think. It's just we know how we feel, and we know how hard and our blood, sweat, and tears to fight for what, to get women's wrestling on there. And we're going to do whatever it takes to get real, legit women's wrestling back on TV.
As far as the Miss Brooks character goes, did they come to you with the development, or you just, because this is basically like a spinoff of the other characters that you had like a few times with other wrestlers?
Yeah, I've been Traci with an I, Traci with a Y, the Miss Traci. I've been on the independent side with Traci Brooks. I really like this whole Ms. Brooks thing. The whole CEO gimmick. It's kind of everything that's been done before in the wrestling business, the CEO and the corporate. But I think I put my own spin on it. It's not the short skirts, it's something else, and I love it. This is my favorite character. I'm still developing it, and Robert and I are trying to develop things in between us two to make us more corporate, and it's fun. It's fun to develop a character, and I finally feel like this is a character. It's not just my name shortened and I'm, me. I feel like a character now finally. I love it.
What kind of working relationship do you and Bobby have, would you say, before you guys go out there?
Oh, yeah, he's awesome. I mean, I said before, and I'm not just saying this, I'm his biggest fan. If you ask anybody, I absolutely think Robert Roode is one of the top heels in the business today. He's incredible what he does. He's so intense, and half the time I get wrapped up in how great he is. And I'm actually scared sometimes at ringside because people do hate him. They don't hate him because it's cool to hate the bad guy. I think they honestly don't like him, and I do get scared at ringside sometimes when people are that close to me, because I've had people pull my hair or slap me, like try to slap at me or throw stuff at me, and it is scary. But it's like, oh God, he's so good at what he does. And I think he's got a lot of respect for me too, and I go over my matches with him and ask him, always ask him advice. He's got a great head on his shoulders, and I think he's going to be one of the top guys in this company.
One last question about the Victory Road and your mixed tag match, where there is the potential for a man versus woman type of scenario. I was just curious of how you perceive, because there was a few weeks ago there was talk from the network about violence toward women, men beating on women, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that was the guitar shot.
So what kind of a reception have you gotten from that, reaction have you gotten from Backstage?
There's always going to be, it's always hard, I'm sure, for people to see the man-on-woman violence, but I think it's part of wrestling. If it's done properly, especially girls, we can do anything to a guy. I think it's accepted if the girl instigated it. And it's funny, because when I got hit with the guitar, I was like, oh my God, these people are sick. They just totally popped for this woman. And my mother was just, what the? When I got hit, the crowd went crazy, and I was flattered, and then I was like, these people are sick. These people are just raw. And when Christy was supposed to get caned at St. Louis, at lockdown, the place went crazy, and I'm thinking, this is so funny that society is like this. But then again, you take it as a compliment. We are such brass and excuse my language, bitches, that these people want us to get hit. And it's great. Like when Showtime powerbombed me, same night I got hit with the guitar, the place went crazy. It's just a little thing. And the first time he pushed me at lockdown, the place went crazy. And it just means we're doing our job. And we love to interfere with the guys. We think it's great. And I'm sure the guys enjoy it too.
I'm sure. All right. Thank you, Traci.
Thank you very much for calling in.
Your next question comes from the line of James Lowe.
Hey, Traci. How you doing this afternoon?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good, actually. Had a couple questions. I've done some research on you for the conference call today, and you've been all over the map as far as wrestling. Yeah. And I noticed that last year I happened to catch a couple of your matches that you did for AAA down there in Mexico. And I know that whenever Jeff Jarrett goes down there, he gets a lovely reception. And I wasn't sure what is the difference between wrestling in the United States and other countries, or is there one?
Mexico is scary for me, and I loved it. Conan took me down there. The first time we just did, I managed Conan, Christy Hemme and I did, and we did a pull-apart with 2 girls down there. And then the second time I wrestled, Christy had surgery, though, so it was another girl from Canada and I brought in. And it's like they portray us, they're hot chicks with, their TNA hanging out and stuff. But then when the baby faces came out, it was just, I had scum in my hair, I had a battery thrown at me, and it was awesome. And I was scared, but I got thrown into the crowd, actually, and my clothes were getting ripped off me. I had beer poured in my mouth. Like, I was covered in blood. I was bleeding. And it is scary, but they take it very seriously down there. Their wrestling to them is like football is to us, or baseball or hockey is to Canadians. Well, it's a real legit sport down there. I mean, it is a real legit sport. Don't get me wrong, but in Mexico, it's on their papers every day, and it's all over their magazines, and it's not just their one magazine. It's in the sports page of a newspaper. So I mean, 18,000 people you walk out to, and it was the biggest crowd I've ever worked for, and it was crazy. I loved it, but it was you definitely get beat up down there. It was great.
Oh yeah, that that was interesting to watch some of the footage that I saw. Another question that I had based on that is it seems to me that there's a lot of good talent in some of the lower tier Latin organizations down there. Do you have any names at all that could fit for TNA? Much like they've brought in some of the Mexican stars in the past, like Shocker, and some of them to the men's division. Is there any emails that would go good with the women's division?
Definitely. I mean, and those girls, they're beautiful and they're talented and they hit hard, and it's not fake for them. It's real. And I worked with a girl named Tiffany down there. She was definitely a real solid performer, and I would love to see her up here. Definitely.
Well, my final question. I noticed you've appeared in some movies in the past.
Oh my
and
God.
Do you plan on doing any more acting, or is that just something that you just did spur of the moment?
No, I mean it was something that came into my plate that had to do with wrestling, and I got my worst question, my most disfavorite question, dislike for a question I absolutely hate is when people say, "What do you want to do after wrestling?" I got into wrestling to be a wrestler. I got into wrestling to when I can't do an in-ring performance anymore, I want to be off the camera as an agent or as a trainer or as a producer or someone that does something in the office promotion. I don't want to get into acting. If acting falls into my lap and helps me allow to pursue my wrestling career, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And if it lets me do stunts or lets me do wrestling moves, that's absolutely tremendous. But if it falls in my lap, that's great. I don't know. I just can't see myself pursuing a movie or anything like that. I mean, wrestling's in my blood, and if it helps my wrestling career, then I do it, of course. But I'm not wrestling to help my acting career or my singing career or anything like that. I'm wrestling because I'm a wrestler through and through.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm glad that that I've heard that out of someone besides some of the male stars that it seems like that they use it as kind of like it's just a fake answer, but you legitimately believe in that answer, which is always a good thing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, thanks for participating. I'll let somebody else jump in here.
Thank you very much for calling in.
Your next question comes from the line of James Walsh.
Hi, Tracy. How you doing today? It's James from the Wrestling Epicenter.
Good, thanks. How are you, James?
Doing okay. We've done this a couple times, but it's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, you too.
All right. The question I have for you is the word that you've said a lot on this call, I think, is the word that's on most TNA fans, and that's time. And I think when we think of that, we're thinking 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours. What do you know, and do you think there's a chance we could see that in the next couple months?
I mean, there's always a chance if you think positive and you believe it in your heart. I mean, anything can happen. I don't know anything, honestly. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, there's so much you read on the Internet. There's so much, TNA keeps us involved as much as they can, and they like to throw surprises at us, like Kurt Angle, which was a nice surprise. Mm-hmm. I think TNA is definitely doing what they can to get us 2 hours. We need 2 hours. Or 2 1-hour time, like 2 different 1-hour time slots. We just need more time. Mm-hmm. Our talent is way too talented just to have 43 minutes. Mm-hmm. I mean, our vignettes are better, our wrestling's better. I just think we're so talented in a group that we all work together well that we need people want to see it. A lot of people are so negative and saying that, we're never going to get 2 hours, we're never going to do this. Well, 4 years ago, people are saying we're never going to get out of Nashville.
Yeah.
4 years ago, people were saying we're never going to get on like a cable company like Spike TV or a network like Spike TV, and we just keep proving them wrong. And I think slowly, step by step, we just keep proving them right, or keep proving them wrong, and doing the right thing. And it just takes time, as I said. It's time, unfortunately, time, but eventually we will get there.
Well, I'll even go one step further. When you guys were just even planning on starting, and I know you weren't there from the get-go, people said it wouldn't last 3 months, and here we are over 5 years later. We're still here. So anyway,
they did. I mean, it's you can't just you just can't blow everything all at once. I mean, we went from weekly pay-per-views, we went to being on Fox TV and monthly pay-per-views. Now we're on Spike. Now we went to Spike on prime time. You can't. There's nothing TNA's done wrong. We've done everything properly, and I have faith and belief in TNA that they're going to keep doing everything right.
Mm-hmm. The switch over from NWA TNA to just TNA seems to have gone flawlessly. There seems to be no, bridge. Nobody seems to be messing up and saying NWA. Do you think that just being the TNA now gives you guys more of an identity?
I think so, definitely. And honestly, you're right. It was just like overnight. It was like all of a sudden, boom.
Yep.
It was just a smooth. TNA does everything smooth, and they do everything correctly, I believe, and it's just a smooth transition, and I think it does. It's our own brand. It's our own unique brand.
Mm-hmm. When I watch those shows, and when you watch the TNA pay-per-view, it's different than even seeing an Impact. It's just, you see legitimate wrestling, you see great matches, you see how much heart the guys put in the matches. And then I go on the internet, and all that stuff's true. And they're saying stuff like the morale is low and all that stuff. Do you have any comment about that? And how wrong are these reports?
I'll be politically correct. I think it's hilarious to go on an internet site or go on the internet and to hear, oh, morale is low. When's the last time you were backstage? Because when I was backstage, everyone's hugging and kissing and putting everyone, watching everyone's match. For our girls' three-way, the monitor was sold out. For our girls' three-way, every single guy was in the back watching us. When I got to the back, everyone gave us a standing ovation. Morale, everyone helps everybody. Everyone, honestly, I don't even know people that have the differences. And I think when we honestly enjoy seeing each other. We care about their families. We care about everyone's lives. We, see each other on the independent shows, and we take care of each other. And they're all my brothers there, and they've been my brothers since I've been there since the beginning. And it just kills me, because when's the last time you were there? You're likely a 15-year-old kid sitting in your basement in your parents' house, making up lies. And to me, that's awesome, because I just laugh about it. I don't even go on the sites, but if someone emails me a link or whatever, I just laugh. Negativity makes me more positive, and I think it does to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of people say, oh, I'm not a wrestler. Well, I trained 7 years ago and paid a lot of money to be trained. And my parents would, my black eyes and my broken bones and everything else would, be different, stay a little different. It's just, half the time it's little kids in their basement, or it's just people that are jealous or insecure or feel bad about themselves and have to put other people over. So I think it's funny.
Okay, I got two more questions for you. You mentioned in Mexico you got beaten up pretty good, flooding and everything, and Jackie Moore just a couple months ago got her teeth knocked out. What is the worst injury that you've ever suffered in TNA? Well, not necessarily TNA, but in the business.
I've been really, really lucky. Really lucky. And Jackie, by the way, is the toughest girl I've ever met in my life. I've been really lucky. I've had bumps and bruises, but I've never, sprained this or something like that, but I've never had anything bad. Honestly, I've been really, really, really lucky. Knock on wood.
Mm-hmm. You said TNA earlier in the call, you said it's a smaller company, and I think that's fairly accurate, but you also said that you guys have better wrestling, which is true, better vignettes, which is true. When do you think that you'll be ready to be lesser than the smaller company, an actual head-to-head, or not necessarily head-to-head, but just competition for? Yeah.
I think we already are competition. We're definitely alternative,
right,
which is a big thing too. But I think competition, everyone's watching. I think everyone's watching, and I think so. You can even tell. I might be stepping out of line, but you can almost tell by the women's matches all of a sudden on the other company.
Exactly.
All of a sudden they brought that Phoenix in, who is a great worker. Yep. And all of a sudden it's women's wrestling again. And I think, they're watching, and everyone watches everybody. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a great thing. But right now we're definitely a great alternative. And we said, it's going to take time, and it's going to take, just patience, and we're definitely going to be right head-to-head.
All right, I got to leave you with this question. It's not really TNA, but just if you can give me a couple words. Have you heard about this whole crazy Benoit thing?
No comment on that.
Okay. All right, thank you, and I'll let somebody else ask some
Very much.
questions.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Again, at this time, if you would like to ask a question, please press star, then the number 1. Your next question comes from the line of Brian Thomas.
Hey, Tracy, Brian Thomas again here. Just wanted to ask you who your hero in wrestling was when you were growing up.
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He was actually, everyone knows this, he was my very first crush ever, and he's just also the reason why I watched wrestling.
And familiar with the Ricky of WWF or his matches with Flair in NWA?
Anything.
Anything?
Anything. Well, I mean, back in the day, because I lived on a farm we had 3 stations for TV, so it was WWF then. But now I watch all his stuff, and definitely Sherry Martel had a big, big, big influence on me. She still does, God rest her soul. I got to meet her once, but she definitely had it all. She could wrestle. She wasn't scared to be a heel. She wasn't scared to make an ass of herself. You know, she was beautiful, but she made herself look scary. She was. The more I got into wrestling, the more I just realized how much I respected her and how much I just wanted to learn from her. And I watch tapes of her all the time. I think she was and will be always one of the best female wrestlers in the world.
Okay, and one last question. Where do you see TNA in the next 5 years?
Competition, running head-to-head.
All right, thank you.
Your next question comes from the line of Randy Bullock.
Tracy, how are you doing today?
Good, thanks. How are you, Randy?
I'm doing good. It's Randy Bullock.
Good.
Randy on the radio show here in South Mississippi. And just wondering, now that TNA is taking their pay-per-view out of just the Orlando area and going on the road with them, how do you see a difference in the fan base as you travel around with pay-per-view?
Definitely. I mean, the first time we actually went outside of Orlando, fans were in the airport for us, and they were waiting for us everywhere, and it was a great reception. And when we got back to Orlando, the same thing. The fans were in the airport. I mean, they missed us. They realized what they had, and we'd taken it away from them. After this last pay-per-view on the road, we got back to Orlando, and it was the hottest crowd I've ever seen in my life in Orlando. So I think this is just an amazing step for us, and I think it makes the Orlando fans appreciate what they have while they have it, and it can be very well taken away from them if, we get going on the road more, so I think they appreciate it more. And I think us going back to Nashville and going to St. Louis and all these places too, it shows people that we're not a rinky-dink promotion, that we are a great wrestling federation that's just building, and it's an alternative, and it's going to be number 1 competition in the next few years.
So other than Robert Roode, who would you say are the most exciting workers right now in TNA?
Definitely Christian Cage. I've always been a fan of his. His promos are awesome. He's a ring general in the ring. He's amazing. AJ Styles, I love as a heel. I think he's a great heel, and I like his matches with Samoa Joe better as AJ as a heel. Abyss is my favorite big man worker. I think he's just incredible. I could go on about the whole entire locker room, honestly. Homicide, everybody. Robert Roode is my favorite. I have to say that. He pays me to say that. I'm kidding.
Well,
he definitely.
Obviously, think you're a very tight-knit family at the back.
Yes.
And
we are. We're all family. We all call each other on our birthdays, care about each other. If something happens to one of us, it happens to all of us. It's a very, very close-knit family.
Well, speaking of a member of the family out there, what's the word on Scott Steiner's return? He was mentioned earlier, but what's the word on his return from his injury?
Well, hopefully soon. He's just taking it day by day right now, and you never know when he's going to come back. But I mean, it was an unfortunate incident that happened to him, and we wish him all the best in a speedy recovery and see back to TNA soon.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk with everyone. I'm going to shut up and let somebody else talk. But as far as your movie career goes, I had a friend in that same zombie movie. So we'll just.
Oh, really?
Sure did. She played the French Bigfoot.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't think anyone saw that movie.
And she has told me to please never mention that movie again. So
yes, she has the same reaction I have. Yeah, don't mention it. Thank you.
My name is James Walsh, and I'd like to thank you for checking out the Wrestling Epicenter here on YouTube. If you have not done so already, please do. Click that subscription button and the notifications bell. This way you'll be notified anytime I upload any new or new to you classic content from our archives that date back to 2002. If you get the opportunity, please also check out www.wrestlingepicenter.com for all your wrestling news and info needs, as well as our store to keep us going free and clear. Without any further delay, let's get to why you came here, the content here on YouTube.